Brad Yates, welcome to the Star Coach Show.
Thanks, Meg. I'm happy to be here.
Well, we are going to be talking about um, something that some of you might be very familiar with, some of you may never have heard of before. But one of the things that I love about doing this show is that I'm able to bring different concepts and techniques and strategies to the show. Today, we're going to be talking about emotional freedom techniques or tapping with Brad, who does this on an ongoing basis, is known for this. So, what better person to bring forward to talk about this? But for those people who are like, what? What are we talking about? Why don't we start with what is this whole concept of tapping?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. So tapping, as you said, is also another name for EFT or emotional freedom techniques. And the reason we call it tapping is it is literally a process of tapping with our fingertips on our face and torso. And I know that for those of you who are new to this, you might be saying, wow, Meg's had some interesting people, but this guy's just crazy. Uh, there's a very good reason why we do it. So stick around. Even though it looks a little bit strange the first time or the first couple of times you do it, maybe it's based on acupuncture. So for thousands of years in Chinese medicine, they have said there's a flow of energy through the body along pathways called meridians. And when this energy is flowing naturally, we experience our natural state of health and well-being, physically and emotionally. And when this energy gets disrupted or stuck, we don't feel so good. And we don't think as clearly, we don't make the best choices. And that can have all kinds of unfortunate consequences for our lives. So in traditional Chinese medicine, the doctor would stick needles in these key points to stimulate that healthy flow of energy. And we're just tapping with our fingertips on these same points to stimulate those points to get that energy flowing. And we have a growing body of scientific research showing all of the amazing benefits of this. The primary thing is stress relief. So when you consider that most, if not all of the issues that cause us distress are either caused by or worsened by stress, then you can see that having a simple technique for down-regulating stress is very beneficial.
So good. So our clients are going to experience stress. We're going to experience stress. What I love about shows like this is that they're applicable to us as practitioners and they're applicable to our clients. I can't say the word, but um, so when we think about this concept of relieving stress, the other thing that sometimes stress can bubble up or build up in is in resistance to change, resistance to stepping into trying something different. And I'm wondering how tapping relates to the concept of resistance.
Yeah, great question, Meg. Thanks. The extent to which we don't have what we say we want tends to be the extent to which we're resisting it. So for ourselves, for our coaching clients, they come in with goals. They say, I want this. I'm not getting it. It's because there's some resistance there. It's not that we're lazy. It's not that they're lazy, even though we love to use that. But it's that there is the resistance to having that goal is outweighing the motivation to have it. And that resistance tends to get expressed as stress in our body. So if, for instance, you're working with a client who has a goal to reach a certain income, an annual income, they may say, oh, I absolutely want to make this. I want to make $100,000 a year. But if you ask them, okay, close your eyes. Imagine you're making $100,000 a year. Scale of 0 to 10, how safe does that feel? And unless they're already making that or on their way to making it, there's going to be some stress there. There's going to be some resistance, something saying it's not safe to have this. And so we resist what isn't safe for us, but we do it at an unconscious level. So we're sitting there thinking, I think I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do, but we find ways to sabotage ourselves. We get the job interview set up, but then we blow the interview or we don't even show up. And then we beat ourselves up and say, I'm so stupid. But self-sabotage is simply misguided self-love. We're protecting ourselves from something that we don't think is safe. And we'll do all the due diligence, like, well, they've hired you. They've hired a coach. I'm trying to reach $100,000. I'm hiring the coach. but I am making sure at an unconscious level that I don't get there. And I'm sabotaging myself because of this resistance to having something that, because of my old programming, probably based on misunderstandings, is not safe.
Does not compute with our current belief system, even if
Yeah.
that's running under the radar. So then how does introducing tapping help break that?
Yeah. So tapping down regulates that stress. So as we think about making the 100 grand a year, or being in the relationship, or reaching that fitness goal, or whatever it is, and we allow ourselves to be aware of, okay, I do feel like a knot in my stomach or some tension in my shoulders. The tapping down regulates that stress, so that we, as we think about our goal, we start to say, oh, you know what? That actually feels okay. It actually feels good. And I do have what it takes. In terms of, so for those of you who are manifestation coaches, you think about, okay, you want to be feeling good about your goal, and you want to be in vibrational harmony, and people are going, oh, I absolutely am, I'm looking at my vision board and I'm feeling so good at a conscious level. But at an unconscious level, it's like, please, no, don't ever let this happen because I couldn't handle it. And that just shows up physically. It manifests as stress.
Mhm.
And the tapping down regulates that, so that we actually have the freedom to be in that vibrational harmony, to feel that good about the goal. So we feel good about it. We allow ourselves to take actions that we otherwise wouldn't have done. For those of you who are money coaches, so people say, well, how does tapping help with money? It's like, well, okay, do you think that your actions have anything to do with your money situation? Well, yeah, absolutely. Okay, do you think that stress has anything to do with your actions? Well, yeah, probably. Okay, so therefore, if you can deal with your stress, you can change your actions and change your money situation, or
Well,
whatever
and
goal
what
you
do we
find.
get more wrapped around about? I mean, very few things do we get as wrapped around and anxious about as finances. I mean, it's
Yep.
just, as a former therapist, I can tell you, money, sex, and in-laws. Those are the things that brought couples into therapy again and again and again. Um, so when we think about that, now, how long have we known about? I mean, obviously, acupuncture's been around
Thousands of
for
years. Yeah.
thousands of years, but what
Yeah.
about the whole concept of tapping?
So the tapping as we know it, EFT, which is based on a process called thought field therapy, or TFT, which was developed by a psychologist named Dr. Roger Callahan around 1980 or so. And the pieces that led up to that, there's different things like kinesiology and acupressure and all kinds of things that led Dr. Callahan to come up with this. But he was the one who came up with the tapping as we know it, with tapping with our fingertips on these particular points in the sequence. He had a different algorithms. So he would come up with, depending on what the issue was that the person had, come up with maybe 3 or 4 points and tap them in a certain sequence. And then with somebody else with a different issue, tap a different sequence and different points. And one of his first students was a gentleman named Dr. Gary Craig, who had his degree in engineering from Stanford. And thinking like an engineer, how do we simplify this? Hey, there's only 8 points we're using. Rather than spending time trying to figure out which points in which sequence, what if we used all the points in one go, top to bottom, and found he was getting the same great results? So it just simplified the process.
So good. That's why many minds think well together.
Yes.
S- So with that, now today we are going to do a tapping exercise. So
Oh,
everybody be ready for that. We'd love for you to join with us. If you're in a place where you're driving the car, obviously don't do it while you're driving, or can you do it? I wouldn't think you could do it while you were driving.
there is some tapping you can do doing during the this demonstration. I possibly, but ideally not. There are ways when you're driving. With one hand you might tap a certain point, because when you're driving, that's when a lot of stress comes up. So it
Yes,
can be a
yes.
great place. But as I'm teaching this, you're going to have to be paying attention. So I don't want you to be that distracted.
Right. So
So
for
yeah,
you who are driving, either continue driving and come back and do the exercise with us later, or if you
pull
have a
over.
few minutes, pull over because
Yeah.
we're not doing it immediately. So we're giving you a heads up so
Yeah.
that you can prep for that if that is something you'd like to join us, and we'd love to have you join in that. you have a core belief that really rocks everything that you do. I think it goes hand in hand with the practices that you bring forward. What's your core belief about people?
Well, which one? I have a couple of core.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
we're talking
there's
about the
greatness.
Michelangelo process.
Well, I was referring to that process that we talked about it, that we have greatness. All of us have greatness within
Yes,
us.
yes. So the Mike, yeah, what I call the Michelangelo process. So I have, for those of you watching this on video, you can see behind me a picture of Michelangelo's David, which a favorite piece of art, and I have it all over the place. I have little miniature statues and cutouts. So Michelangelo said the statues are there perfect inside the marble, and all he had to do was chip away what didn't belong to reveal the masterpiece inside. And to me, that's a perfect metaphor for this, that our best self is already inside, but it's hidden under this marble that's made up of feelings of unworthiness and doubt and fear and anger and resentment. And so we're just with our fingertips chipping away what doesn't belong, clearing that stuff away to reveal that masterpiece inside.
So good. Now you've been doing this for a while with clients.
Couple of decades,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, let's talk a little bit since we are talking to practitioners. Obviously, this is something that you have to become trained in and those kinds of things. Or I would, however, let's talk a little bit about how once you have this capability, like how to get people on board with you, like break down the resistance even to trying something new.
Yeah, and it, part of it, as you all know as coaches, rapport is very important, and the more rapport you have with someone, the more open they might be. Because yeah, when people first hear about it, they're like, "What? Oh, that's got to be crazy." Now, I started out as an
You want me
actor.
to do what?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. You've asked me to do some crazy things, but come on, really? Tap on my face? I started out as an actor before I got into this work, and part of one of the things that I did for training as an actor is I went to Ringling Brothers Clown College. So when I first learned about tapping, it was not the strangest thing I'd ever done. So I was a little more open to it than some people. But with my first clients, they were hypnotherapy clients, and I would say, "Okay, I've learned this new technique. We have a few more minutes here. Just play along with me, and I just want you to tap here." And because they were already open to hypnotherapy, they were more open than some people might be.
Mhm.
Uh, some people are not going to be open right away, but if you introduce it to them, fortunately, I've had a lot of coaches tell me that they send people to watch my videos in between sessions, and it just kind of makes it a little bit simpler. It's like, oh, just go watch this, take it, try it out, and then they're doing it on their own rather than, because if they feel pressure with you right
Or
there,
feeling exposed or vulnerable, but if they're doing
exactly,
something through a video on their own, it might make them feel a little safer.
exactly, exactly, they might feel a little
Well,
less inhibited.
and that's a good resource. We are going to have links for things that you can follow with Brad, and knowing that that's a resource. If you're not certified in this and you're trying to test it out, well, test it out for yourself, and also then you have a resource for your clients. So it's a win-win always around. Um, Before we dive into doing practice, what else do you think the audience would need to kind of think about or embrace as we're venturing into actually putting this into practice?
Well, we'll do a tapping round on the concept of resistance. So what I might ask is, in fact, go ahead and close your eyes, take a deep breath in and hold it. Again, if you're driving, wait until you're pulled over safely on the side of the road. If it is safe for you to do so, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and think about some goal that you have for yourself. Sometimes as coaches, we don't often do this. We're so focused. Oh, I just think about my clients' goals, and allowing yourself to think about what your goal is, and think of one particular goal. It may be a financial goal, a career goal, a fitness goal, a relationship goal. So think about something that you would really like. So, if you found a magic lantern, what would you ask the genie for? So imagine that goal. Now imagine that you have it. Just following your breath through your body. Notice what goes on in there in terms of what you feel physically and what you feel emotionally. and thinking about having this goal, imagining that you have it, you've already accomplished this goal, say, it's safe for me to have this. Just let that rattle around inside and notice on a scale of 0 to 10 how safe it feels. And now I know some of you are going to say, oh, it's a 10. It's absolutely a 10. And I'm going to challenge you, as a good coach does, I'm going to challenge you to look deeper, because if it were a 10, you would either already have achieved it or be so far on your way, be so confident of it that wouldn't be the goal that you're thinking of. So allowing yourself to be aware of, okay, there might be some resistance, and notice where in your body you might feel that, what fear there might be about what could happen if you achieved this goal. Notice what thoughts, beliefs, or memories might come up about why you couldn't or shouldn't achieve this goal. Look and see if there's a part of you that says it's not okay for you to have it. Look and see if some part of you says you don't deserve it. You can just feel in any place in your body where you might feel some resistance, allowing yourself to be aware of that. And so when you think about how safe it might be or how much you deserve it, for you to rate that on a scale of 0 to 10, if it's not at a 10, don't judge yourself for that. And don't be upset that you found that, because now you know why you haven't reached it yet. It's like, oh, excellent. Now I know. So just noticing where in your body you might feel that. And any ideas that come to mind, don't worry about getting it right. Just allow yourself to be aware of anything that does come to mind. And take a deep breath and open your eyes. So the basic process of EFT is we take the fingertips of our index and middle finger on our dominant hand, and we start by gently tapping on the opposite side of the hand. So right between your wrist and your pinky. And we'd say, even though I feel this resistance, I choose to love and accept myself. We say that 3 times. And it could be whatever is coming up for you. So maybe it's just, well, I just feel this anger as I think about that. Great. On a scale of 0 to 10, how much anger are you feeling? I just feel stress, or I feel this tightness in my shoulders. So that would be the setup phrase, whatever that particular issue is that we're aware of. So we'd repeat that 3 times. Even though I have this issue, this stress, this tension in my shoulders, I choose to love and accept myself. Then we move to the eyebrow point. So it's right the beginning of your eyebrow, right near the center of your face, on either side. And we go through these points, we'll tap each point, 5 to 10 times. And we repeat the setup phrase. So this tension, this stress, whatever it might be. So tapping the eyebrow point. Then we'll follow the eyebrow out to the side of your eye, the outside corner of your eye socket, and gently tap in there. You'd repeat distress. Then right under the middle of your eye, just above your cheek, all this stress. Right under your nose, just above your upper lip, this stress. Right below your lower lip, just above your chin, this stress. And right where your collarbones just about come together, you can feel there's a little bit of a U shape at the base of your throat. So you can tap with all of your fingertips, or even make a fist and tap with it, that just about comes together. All this stress. Next point is about 4 inches below your armpit, right about bra strap level. And I'm sure even the guys can figure out where that is. All this stress. And then finally, the top of the head. So with all of your fingertips tapping around the crown of your head, all of this stress. And then you take a deep breath. So that's the most basic version of EFT, is taking that issue and tapping through these points. We're going to have a little bit of fun with it in just a moment, but I wanted you to know where the points are, and then I'll take you through. And for those of you who might just be listening on audio, just go ahead and guess where the points are as you go through. As I say a phrase, and then I pause and then go to the next point and say another phrase, just move to the next point. Don't worry about getting it right. You could be, and you could even be tapping 1 point and it'll still be beneficial. And so we'll have some fun with this. Any questions
I'm
before we
looking
start,
forward.
Meg?
No, I think that that's good. I was sort of, I was like watching Brad and realizing I was not using my dominant hand, and I got it all figured
Yeah.
out.
And it's
So
okay. You can,
no,
meridians run up and down both sides. You can tap with either hand on either side or both at the same time.
Okay.
You
No.
can't get it wrong. It's a very forgiving process.
Well, good, good. Okay. No, I think we're ready to go.
All
Everybody,
right.
we'll see you on the other side.
So, with whatever you are thinking, just again thinking about what that goal is, and wherever you might have felt resistance in your body, and any thoughts that might have come up as to why you couldn't or shouldn't have it, just keep that in mind. And now tap it on the side of your hand. Even though I might have some resistance, I choose to love and accept myself. And just for those of you listening or watching, Meg's going to be silent just for the purpose of the video. But I encourage you to say it out loud if you're, for those of you tapping at home, because when we say it out loud, we tend to be more emotionally engaged. It'll still be beneficial even if you're silent. So don't worry about that if you're in a place where, yeah, I can't.
Well, and I'm going to mute myself so that I will say it so that we can only hear Brad.
Excellent. So again, tap it on the side of the hand. Even though I have this resistance, I choose to love and accept myself. Even though I have this resistance, I choose to love and honor myself. Even though I have this resistance, although I don't like to admit that, when I think about my goals, part of me insists that there's no resistance. And that's why every single day, I'm doing everything I can possibly do to reach that goal. And if I know that's not true, it's probably because there's some resistance. And even though I have this resistance, I choose to deeply and completely love, honor, and accept myself. And maybe anyone else who's contributed to this resistance. And now we're going to go through the different points. So starting with the eyebrow point, all this resistance to reaching this goal. And part of me argues with that. I don't have any resistance to this goal. But if I'm really honest with myself, sometimes I'm not doing what I need to do to reach that goal. Sometimes I'm moving myself in the opposite direction. And it's not because I'm bad or stupid. It's not that I'm weak or lazy. It's that I have some old programming about why it might not be safe to reach that goal. I'm not failing to reach the goal then. I'm succeeding at avoiding it. I'm a lot more successful than I realize. I'm succeeding at protecting myself. And I'm processing this. Why is that resistance there? When I think about achieving my goal, what am I afraid the consequences would be? What am I afraid would happen? And why do I doubt that I can handle that? Especially if it's money. Part of me says I'd love to have more money. But there are other parts of me. Remembering all kinds of things I've heard about money. Like rich people are greedy, and money's the root of all evil, and all kinds of other misunderstandings. So part of me is convinced it's not safe to have more money. If I want to know how much money I believe is safe, I can look at my current bank statement. Anything more than that is in the danger zone. And I'm allowing myself to challenge that. Those might be my misunderstandings. They might be other people's misunderstandings. And this is true of any other goal that I might have. The extent to which I don't have it is the extent to which I'm resisting it, based on some belief that it wouldn't be okay to have it. And I'm processing those fears. I'm clearing out any old confusion so that I feel more peace when I think about my goal. Actually, I do think I could handle it. Actually, I do have what it takes. I'm actually excited about having it. And I'm giving myself more freedom to go after it. And I choose to love myself in the process, in body, mind, and spirit. Take a deep breath. Close your eyes, go inside, and think about that goal again. Imagine having that goal and following your breath through your body. Just allow yourself to feel how that might feel different. Hopefully it feels safer. It feels more okay to have it. You may feel more deserving of it. And when we're tapping, it's often like peeling the layers of the onion. So as we're going through, you may have gotten some awareness of old memories that might have contributed to resistance. Like, oh, I totally remember this thing that my parents said about money or something like that. And hopefully it feels a lot lighter, or you can go and tap specifically on those misunderstandings and clear them out.
So good. Thank you for doing that with us. And
Oh, my pleasure.
I would love to hear from those of you who kind of went through the process. Always feel free to leave a comment. Let me know if you're watching this on YouTube. Leave a comment below. One thing that I'm curious about, Brad, is whether the things that you say as you're going through the tapping, as the leader through the tapping,
Mhm.
um, if it's a coach that's working with a client around a specific thing, if you sort of build that around what you understand to be true or what you have been working on with your client.
Absolutely. You want to tailor the wording to your client as much as possible. And right here, I was doing a very general around trying to
Right,
reach
which
as many
was
people as
probably,
possible. Yeah.
I'm sure it resonated with many
Yeah.
of us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because there are certain things that are universal,
Right.
many are beliefs. When you are tapping with a particular client, you want to tailor it. Now, with tapping, it is good to get training, especially if, no, for instance, Meg, you said you started as a psychotherapist. You already have the training to work with clients with emotional issues. Some of us who come into the coaching profession may be coming from other careers and not have that sort of training in how to deal with human emotions. So I do encourage you to look at a certification program. And there are many great ones out there. I don't teach that myself, but allow yourself to work with a supervisor on how to
Mhm.
work with folks when they're going into that, because although the tapping doesn't cause the emotions, when we're doing the tapping, we're often going into places where those kind of emotions can come up, and we want to be able to handle those. And yeah, so when we're working with our clients, we do want to be as specific to what their issue is as possible.
Right. So, and great point in that while you might not be per se, specifically trying to bring up emotion, the reality is when we are dealing with the belief systems and the feelings that go along with those belief systems, tidal waves of those might come out.
Yeah.
And if you're in a place of not feeling safe with that as a service provider, as well as not knowing what to do with it, that's not creating trust and safety. And
Right.
that's one
Stick
of
within
our,
your scope of
yeah,
practice.
exactly. So if you're going to do something like this, be trained in how to engage.
Yeah.
So, so, so good. I would love to just continue to kind of explore this and talk about it. However, we are going to at some point run out of time. So when we think about tapping, how does tapping work in with changing of habits and patterns, which are also some things that we deal with as with our clients? Often our clients are in a pattern of behavior or bringing habits in that don't serve them. And how can this technique help free us from that?
Yeah. We crave the familiar. We like things to be the same. We all say that we want things to be different, but we don't want to change. And so when we try to make a change, we have this part of the brain in the midbrain called the amygdala, and the amygdala is looking for threat. And when it perceives a threat, it throws us into fight or flight. And this could be whether we see a barking dog running at us to attack us, or somebody looks at us funny, or we think that they look at us funny. We still have that fear response at a maybe at a very subtle level, but it directs our thoughts. So when we're thinking of making some change, having more money, changing our where we live, or whatever the goal might be, it's a change. And so we
Mhm.
have that stress response. All of our habits are designed to keep us neatly and safely in our comfort zone. And when we try to change that, it's like stopping smoking. It's like, well, then what am I going to do with my hands? I've been doing this I have this part of my day, and I can't change. I don't want to get rid of what's familiar. So
Mhm.
even when our lives are crap, it's our crap. We
Yeah.
know where it
And we
goes.
know
And
how to
it's,
do it really well.
yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. I've got this crap down to a science. So now you want me to get rid of my crap? This is good crap.
That's right. Even if
um,
it's bad, it's
Even
good
if it's
because I
bad,
know it. It's
it's familiar.
familiar.
Yes, the
Yeah.
mind says if it's familiar, it's good. If it's
Mhm.
unfamiliar, it's bad. So all that stuff you put on your vision board, part of your mind says bad. It's not familiar. I don't know what it's like to have that sports car. I don't know what it's like to live on the beach. Those are all
Mhm.
bad. So, and that just manifests as stress. So while the tapping helps us calm that stress down so that we can then look at it and go, that wouldn't be bad. I could handle that. It would be safe. And therefore we have the freedom now to take the actions. So it's what I call the freedom to succeed.
Mm.
We have we have there are things we can do to succeed, but we don't have the emotional freedom to take those actions, to make those choices, because we get that stress response when we try to move out of our comfort zone. There's a part of us that has put an electric fence around our comfort zone. And when we start to, exercise more, or go out on more dates, or whatever it might be that is messing with the familiar, we hit that electric fence and get shocked and retreat. And so
Mhm.
the tapping is kind of cutting the wires to the electric fence. Like, oh,
Love that analogy.
yeah.
All right. So we're wrapping up our time, and I just am curious, is there anything that we've left on the table that you want people to kind of think about, or a great way to sort of reemphasize the thing that we really want people to understand?
Yeah. One of my favorite things to say is that self-sabotage is simply misguided self-love. So for you, for your clients, we're so caught up in beating ourselves up when we sabotage our success. Oh, I can't believe I forgot to go to that interview. I can't believe I ate the whole box of cookies. I can't believe I'm such an idiot. Like, no, no, no. Be compassionate with yourself. I It was an act of self-love based on old programming. I was feeling upset, or I was feeling threatened, and I went into fight or flight, and I took the only action, or whatever familiar action there was, to make myself feel better. Even if I knew there'd be consequences later, I needed to take care of myself in the moment. And I think that came up in the tapping roundabout. I didn't fail. I succeeded at protecting myself. So
Right.
that's why, if we can look at those times where we didn't take the action that we said we were going to take, That's recognizing, okay, that was self-sabotage, but it was a misguided act of self-love. Now I just need to find out what was I protecting myself from? How did that feel like love? And then tap and process that and recognize I could probably find a healthier way to take care of myself.
And it sort of opens us up to feeling maybe safe enough or reduced enough to say, and what else could be true? What other, that's the story I've been telling
Yes,
myself. But now maybe I can open my perspective a little bit and consider other options.
we can change our mind. You know, the old saying is if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. But if you always think what you've always thought, you're always going to do what you've always done and get what you've always got. So but we have this resistance, the idea of changing your mind. It's like, no, I'm not going to change my mind. We're always wanting to change other people's minds, but we don't want anyone to change our
Should
mind.
change
It's
our
like,
minds.
yeah, okay, but where your mind is at is why you have what you have. And in order to have, if you want things to be different, you're going to have to change your mind about things. And so, but we have that resistance to change in our mind. No, this is the truth and this is what I'm sticking to. Okay, I may not ever get any of the goals that I want. Everything on the vision board is off the table because this is where my mind is, but darn it, I would rather not change my mind. And the tapping helps us calm down and go, what else is possible? Oh wow, I'm now seeing something I couldn't see before
See
because it
before.
feels safe to look at it.
So good. Brad, thank you so much for bringing your expertise forward, for doing this experiential experience with us, and for helping us clear the cobwebs enough to be able to see other options.
Oh, my pleasure, Meg. Thank you for having me on to share this. It's such a great tool for coaches.
It is. It is amazing. And we will have links to connect with Brad in the show notes for this episode. Brad Yates, you have a great day. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, you too.